Hey there, I'm Alex. I'm a speech-language pathologist with over a decade of experience working with young children. Welcome to Channel Bugaboo. This is the place to find accessible and easy to understand information about neurodivergence and child development. Make sure to like this video so that my content can reach more caregivers and knowledge seekers. Also, make sure that you are subscribed and that your notifications are turned on so all my upcoming videos don't get buried in the algorithm. Autistic kids have unique brains and learn language in a way that takes advantage of their strengths. By the end of this video, you'll understand how autistic kids learn to talk and what you can do to help your child's language thrive. Let's jump in! Communication before words. Caregivers often tell me how frustrating it can be when the tools and supports that work well for other children don't have the same effect for their autistic kids. Neurodivergence means a difference in the way that brains learn. Autistic kids need unique supports that harness their strengths and learning styles. As a speech therapist, I always start my treatment by finding ways that children are already communicating. How does your child let you know what they want and need? For many, these can be non-speaking methods. For example, if your child guides your hand to the door, that might be their way of asking to go outside. Look for clues on what's going on around them to help you deduce what they're trying to say. Identify patterns in how your child communicates different things. Do they have a way to ask for something they want? Do they have a way of telling you what they like or don't like? Are there signs or gestures they use to express emotions or affections? By understanding the natural ways your child is already communicating, it empowers you to help them build on that foundation. These times are perfect to give them a model of language to copy. For example, if your child takes your hand to the fridge, you could model by saying, "Let's get a snack." If they take you to their toys, you could model, "Let's play." When children are already intending to communicate something, it allows their brains to more easily build associations between the words they hear and the ideas they want to convey. How most children learn to talk. Our understanding of the brain and learning is ongoing. Research has generally focused on the most common ways that children develop language. We call this style of learning the analytical model. These children analyze language by breaking it down into the simplest components. Then they proceed bottom up as they work from basic to more complex structures. In practice, these kids start learning with single words around age 1. By the time they're 2, they're combining words together. As they grow more, they get to the point where they're using full sentences to communicate around 3 and 4. From there, they refine their use of syntax and grammar until they achieve mastery as fluent communicators. As the analytical model is the most typical and well-researched way that kids develop language, most media, toys, and techniques are designed to enhance it. However, now that we have more studies on the different ways that brains grow, we've identified that this method is not universal. Many children have different styles of learning that need different styles of support. A different way of learning to talk. Does your kid love to copy you? Maybe they like to repeat things they hear on TV or random sounds. It could be part of their language development. Many young ones show incredible strengths in imitation. They copy full sentences earlier than their peers and use that talent to express themselves. Repurposing communication from the environment is known as naturalistic language processing. While most kids learn bottom up, starting with simple words and working to full sentences, these kids develop language top down, starting with the sentences and separating out the meanings of individual words. Imagine you're baking a cake for the first time. The easiest way is to use a box mix. Once you've mastered that, you can learn about the purpose of each separate ingredient and how they combine. Your first homemade attempt might be messy and seem like a step back, but with time, you can develop better control over your baking and create something more delicious and personalized. It's the same way with how these naturalistic language processors learn. They start by copying others and using it for their own communication. Just like the cake mix is easier for a new baker, this repurposed communication makes learning simpler. Once they've mastered the use of these copied phrases, they break them down into their individual words and structures, discovering how they interact. While their early attempts might be as messy as a baker's first cake, with time, they're able to communicate just as well as their peers. Copied language. Gestalts. Naturalistic language learners watch how others communicate and copy it for themselves. They learn from context and their brains build associations based on function. We call these units of functional communication gestalts. A gestalt is something bigger than the sum of its parts. Naturalistic language processors use gestalt phrases to communicate beyond the literal meaning of their words. Gestalts are determined by function, not grammar or syntax. They can be as short as a single word or as long as an entire movie script. I've also worked with kids who had gestural, musical, or other non-speaking gestalts. Because these kids are learning from context, sometimes they can mismatch how what they hear relates to what's going on around them. In this case, the literal meaning of the gestalt might be different from what they intend to say. Communication breakdown can be frustrating for both kids and caregivers. However, given support, this style of learning can be an amazing boon for daily interactions. How you can support your child's naturalistic language. Naturalistic language learners will repeat back to you exactly what you say. For example, if you say, "Do you want a cookie?" your child might reply, "Do you want a cookie?" Then when they want a cookie, they will say, "Do you want a cookie?" because they associate those words with asking for a snack. They don't understand it's a question because they are working top down and haven't yet broken down the phrase to identify the syntax. Questions are the most common way that we speak to kids, but they can be confusing for young children, especially if they're naturalistic language processors. Try recording yourself while playing with your child. You may be surprised by how many questions you ask. With natural language learners, I instead model phrases that work well in context, regardless of the speaker. For example, let's phrases are excellent for fostering smooth communication. Let's eat a cookie. Let's eat a cookie. Pivot phrases or carrier phrases are a fill-in-the-blank way of building sentences. Phrases like, "It's a ball." "Let's go outside." Set children up for success. They're easier to break down into individual elements. Conversely, avoid modeling phrases that are hard to break down. "Cookie, cookie, cookie" could be a functional gestalt, but it's difficult to break down for future learning. Naturalistic learners might unknowingly copy an inappropriate functional phrase or tone without realizing it. They don't intend to be rude. I would use those occasions as learning opportunities for modeling a more effective and appropriate gestalt. Try modeling for your kid in different ways by changing your wording, tone, and rhythm. If your child already has a favorite phrase, that's a great place to start. Remember, the meaning that they intend might be different from the literal meaning of their words. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you learned something today, don't forget to give it a like so that I can keep this channel growing. I've got some great functional tools and information on supporting language development coming very soon. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss out. Are you interested in a part 2 for this video series? Any questions about autistic language or naturalistic language acquisition? Anything in this video remind you of your kid? Let me know in the comments. If you think your child could benefit from this style of treatment, you can work with me directly and see how I apply this knowledge during my sessions. I have availability through my private practice, Bugaboo Speech Therapy Inc. I see kids in-home through the San Diego area and virtually in California. Go to my website in the description below and sign up for your free consultation today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. See you then.